The Young and the Restless spoilers shock Wednesday full episodes March 19, 2025. A tangled web of love, betrayal, and redemption. For years, the fervent whispers among devoted fans had built up an expectation that would soon rock the very foundations of their cherished world, a scandalous affair between Billy and Phyllis. In a time not so long ago, such a revelation might have unfolded effortlessly, a shocking twist that fans could scarcely imagine. However, as the years passed, Billy had transformed into a man of unwavering principles, a steadfast pillar in a tempest of deceit and longing. His strong moral fiber and dignified nature had evolved into an unbreakable shield, one that would never allow him to tarnish his reputation or betray the trust that had been painstakingly built over time. In the hearts of his many supporters, Billy was no longer the reckless rogue of his past. He had become an embodiment of integrity, a man who would never dare to make a foolish mistake that would shatter the fragile bonds of loyalty. Yet, in the realm of relationships, perceptions are as volatile as the shifting sands of fate. Sally, who had long been entangled in a romance with Billy, found herself wrestling with a profound sense of insecurity. Every glance, every unspoken word between Billy and others stirred an undercurrent of doubt and fear within her. Despite her inner turmoil, Sally hesitated to confront him directly, until now, when her thoughts turned to the prospect of betrayal. In her mind, if Billy were ever to commit the ultimate act of infidelity, she would have the perfect justification to end the relationship without facing harsh judgment or the bitter whispers of outsiders. Yet, even as this notion took root, Sally was plagued by uncertainty, unable to find the precise reason or moment that would force her hand. It was as if her heart had been caught in an endless limbo between longing for trust and the dread of imminent collapse. Amid these simmering tensions, a more sinister drama was unfolding on another side of their intertwined lives. Alan and Tracy, whose volatile relationship had been a ticking time bomb for years, found themselves locked in a conversation brimming with unspoken threats and raw, painful emotion. Alan's presence was imposing and unyielding, a force of nature that seemed to consume every room he entered. Tracy, on the other hand, carried an air of fragile determination, her eyes darting nervously as she struggled to contain the rising terror within her. "Please, Sally, take heed," a mutual friend had whispered in a moment of desperate caution. "Stay far away from that monster. You might end up as his next victim." Those words, heavy with forewarning, resonated in the charged atmosphere that clung to Alan like a shadow. For Tracy, the situation had reached an unbearable crescendo. Every conversation with Alan was laced with menace, and she could no longer shake the overwhelming fear that one day, his anger would turn fatal. The terror of an untimely demise haunted her every thought, propelling her toward the decision to flee from the toxic relationship that had become her personal hell. Yet, just as she mustered the courage to make her escape, Alan revealed a disturbing facet of his character. In a moment of controlling fury, he clutched his phone tightly, ensuring that no prying eyes could see his private world as Tracy attempted to slip away. His grip was both literal and metaphorical, a vivid reminder that in his presence, freedom was but an illusion and trust, a commodity he would never allow to be squandered. In another corner of this intricately connected drama, Sharon stood at the precipice of emotional vulnerability. Having weathered countless storms of heartache and betrayal, she felt that perhaps, at long last, it was time to open her heart fully to love once again. Her eyes shimmered with hope as she considered the possibility of embracing a new beginning, one where the ghosts of the past might finally be laid to rest. However, the question of Nick's role in this unfolding chapter cast a long, uncertain shadow over her budding optimism. Once a familiar face from days of tender affection, Nick now appeared to be a relic of an earlier time, one that no longer resonated with the rhythm of her current existence. Nick, for his part, harbored a quiet reluctance to re-enter the realm of romance. The idea of rekindling an old flame was far from appealing to him, yet he was not without compassion. Deep down, he recognized that the thought of turning away from Sharon would undoubtedly shatter her tender hopes and leave her with an unbearable void. His feelings were a tangled mess of reluctance and care. On one hand, he felt no burning desire to reclaim a love that belonged to the past, but on the other, he he could not bear the thought of inflicting more sorrow on a woman who had already endured so much. In the silent, reflective moments that followed their fleeting interactions, Nick grappled with the delicate balance of his own emotions, a battle between his instinct for self-preservation and the lingering echoes of a love that once defined him. As the day turned into night, the intertwined lives of these characters spiraled into a labyrinth of conflicting desires, haunted memories, and a desperate search for redemption. Billy's steadfast refusal to succumb to scandal contrasted sharply with Sally's internal struggle, each beat of her heart a reminder that trust, once broken, is a rift that time alone might never mend. Meanwhile, the air around Alan and Tracy crackled with a dangerous intensity, every word exchanged laden with the threat of irreversible consequences. In this volatile mix, alliances were tested, old wounds were reopened, and the delicate tapestry of relationships began to unravel under the weight of long-buried secrets. The public, ever watchful, clung to every revelation with bated breath. Rumors about Billy and Phyllis had circulated for years, their potential betrayal serving as a tantalizing fantasy for some and a source of deep consternation for others. Now, as the drama took on new dimensions, those same fans found themselves questioning the very nature of trust and loyalty in a world where every decision had the power to upend lives. In whispered conversations across crowded rooms and in heated debates online, the collective sentiment grew that while Billy's integrity was a beacon of hope, the specter of betrayal still loomed large over the horizon. As the investigation into the unfolding chaos pressed on, with cameras capturing every fleeting moment and detectives scrutinizing every detail, the mystery of Alan's controlling nature and Tracy's desperate bid for escape remained unsolved. Their tangled narrative served as a stark counterpoint to the more hopeful yet equally complex storyline of Sharon and Nick. In a world where emotions ran high and every character was fighting their own internal battles, the specter of past mistakes and the fear of future heartbreak intertwined to create an atmosphere charged with both peril and possibility. In this tapestry of intertwined lives, every whispered secret, every unresolved glance, and every conflicted emotion contributed to a story that defied easy categorization. It was a narrative of love and loss, of ambition and regret, a saga that resonated with anyone who had ever been caught between the longing for security and the allure of a forbidden past. With Billy's unwavering commitment standing in stark contrast to the turbulent uncertainties faced by Sally, Alan, Tracy, Sharon, and Nick, the stage was set for a climax that promised to redefine the boundaries of trust and redemption in a world where every choice came with a price. As the threads of this dramatic saga wound tighter, one truth emerged with piercing clarity. In the realm of human relationships, where passion, betrayal, and hope collide, the scars of the past often dictate the contours of the future. And for each character caught in this relentless maelstrom, the journey toward healing, or destruction, was fraught with the challenges of confronting their deepest fears and embracing the possibility of a love that could endure even the harshest of storms. This narrative captures the multifaceted tensions between characters, the expectations of loyal fans, and the precarious balance between trust and betrayal. It is a vivid portrait of lives caught in an unending struggle for love and redemption, where every moment is a step on the knife edge of fate. A web of heartache, betrayal, and uncertain loyalties. Tracy's hands trembled as she stepped into the dimly lit back room of an old safe house. The cold air, heavy with dust and forgotten memories, mirrored the chill in her heart. Today, she was determined to find answers that could either free her from a nightmare or plunge her further into despair. Waiting anxiously were Phyllis and Sharon, their eyes shadowed by recent trauma. Both had been through a harrowing ordeal, and the questions burning in Tracy's mind could no longer wait. "Tell me," Tracy urged softly, her voice barely a whisper in the oppressive silence, "where have you been? Who took you?" Her tone was a mix of desperation and resolve, as she needed to understand the full extent of their ordeal. Phyllis exchanged a glance with Sharon before speaking. "It was an abandoned hospital," Phyllis replied, her voice faltering for a moment as the truth weighed on her. "They held us there, deep in the corridors of that decaying building." The words sent a chill down Tracy's spine, for it was exactly as she had feared. In her darkest premonitions, she had envisioned a place of despair, a relic of the past that now harbored the sinister deeds of the present. For a long moment, Tracy stood frozen, her mind racing through fragmented visions of abandoned wards, rusted metal, and eerie silence broken only by distant echoes. The confirmation was both horrifying and strangely validating. It was as if the prophecy she'd never dared to voice was now a grim reality. Before Tracy could gather her swirling thoughts, her phone vibrated sharply, drawing her attention away from the heavy atmosphere. The notification on Alan's phone flashed an alert that sent shivers through her already trembling body. Intruder detected at the hospital. The message was curt, alarming, and in that instant, everything changed. The cold truth fell like a hammer. Alan, the man she had once loved and trusted, was implicated as the very culprit behind the break-in at the hospital. Her heart pounded with a mix of shock and disbelief as she recalled the man who had filled her life with both passion and pain. Could it be possible that the person she cherished was capable of orchestrating such a sinister act? The lines between love and betrayal blurred, leaving her questioning every moment they had shared. Now, Tracy found herself ensnared in an impossible dilemma. Every instinct urged her to confront him, to hold him accountable for his actions, but the very thought threatened to shatter the remnants of the love she still clung to. How could she possibly condemn the man who had once been her refuge, her safe harbor in a turbulent world? Yet, turning a blind eye would mean siding with his crimes, making her complicit in the darkness that was slowly consuming their lives. Her mind whirled with conflicting emotions. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her shoulders. If she were to expose Alan, he would face the wrath of the law, and in doing so, she would forever be branded as his betrayer. But if she stayed silent, if she allowed his misdeeds to continue unchecked, she'd not only risk her own moral integrity but also become an accomplice to a treacherous plan. The prospect of choosing between love and justice was a knife-edge decision, a choice that could irreparably alter the course of their lives. As these turbulent thoughts swirled in her head, a new layer of chaos was emerging far beyond their immediate circle. In Genoa, a city that had long been a stage for both glamour and darkness, a wave of crime was surging. Reports of kidnappings were increasing with alarming frequency, and mysterious criminals were emerging from the shadows like specters. The once familiar streets of Genoa were now dangerous labyrinths, and every corner held the promise of another abduction, another heartbroken by betrayal. Tracy could hardly believe that while she grappled with the heart-wrenching dilemma of her own making, the city itself was descending into turmoil. Each news bulletin, each whispered rumor among the frightened citizens, painted a picture of a society losing its grip on safety and justice. The abandoned hospital, where Phyllis and Sharon had suffered in silence, was just one of many dark corners where the seeds of criminality had taken root. The city was transforming before her eyes, morphing into a place where trust was a rare commodity and every shadow could conceal a hidden threat. In the midst of this mounting crisis, Tracy knew that decisive action was required. Every moment of indecision risked further harm to the vulnerable souls caught in the crossfire of a burgeoning criminal underworld. Yet, the decision that lay before her was not one that could be made lightly. With Alan implicated in the breach at the hospital, the scales of justice were teetering on a razor's edge. Tracy's heart ached as she contemplated the future. Would she have to sacrifice the love she once held dear in order to safeguard a community already teetering on the brink? Or was there a way to reconcile the shattered pieces of her heart with the unyielding demands of justice? In that fraught moment, Tracy's thoughts turned inward. She recalled the many times she had trusted her instincts, times when the smallest detail had revealed a much larger truth. Now, her instincts screamed for action, urging her to confront the undeniable evidence before her. But the thought of exposing Alan, of transforming the man she once adored into a pariah, filled her with a dread so deep it threatened to paralyze her. Her mind raced back to earlier conversations, to subtle hints and half-truths that had long been overshadowed by the intensity of her emotions. Had she missed the warning signs, the small cracks in Alan's facade that now threatened to widen into chasms of betrayal? And what of the abandoned hospital, a place that seemed to embody all the darkness and neglect that had crept into their lives? It was as if fate had meticulously woven these disparate threads into a tapestry of heartache and deception, leaving her to untangle them with trembling hands. Outside, the sounds of a restless Genoa seeped through the walls, the distant siren, the murmur of anxious voices, the palpable tension of a city on edge. In that moment, Tracy understood that her decision would have repercussions far beyond her own personal struggle. It would echo through the streets of Genoa, influencing a community already reeling from the surge of mysterious kidnappings and unsolved crimes. As she looked into the tear-filled eyes of Phyllis and the solemn, haunted gaze of Sharon, Tracy felt an overwhelming responsibility to protect them. They had endured so much, and now they placed their trust in her to guide them through this perilous chapter. Their voices, though soft and uncertain, reminded her that every person affected by these events deserved justice, and that silence, in the face of such betrayal, was a betrayal in itself. Yet, the thought of turning Alan in was like watching a treasured memory disintegrate before her eyes. The man she loved was now a shadow cast by his own misdeeds, a man whose actions threatened to destroy not only the fragile balance of trust between them but also the safety of the community they all once believed in. The weight of this revelation bore down on her, each second stretching into an eternity as she pondered her next move. Tracy's internal battle intensified with each passing moment. Every instinct urged her to act, to confront the inevitable and prevent further tragedy. But the path forward was shrouded in uncertainty. In her heart, she yearned for the days when love and loyalty could coexist in harmony. Now, however, those days felt like distant memories, a mirage of a time when the world was simpler and the choices were clear. With a heavy heart and a mind burdened by doubt, Tracy knew that the time for inaction had passed. The city of Genoa, with its rising tide of mysterious criminals and unspeakable kidnappings, could no longer afford the luxury of silence. She would have to make a choice that might forever alter her destiny and the lives of everyone she cared about. Would she sacrifice her own heart for the sake of justice, or would she risk condemning an innocent soul in a misguided act of loyalty? The decision loomed large, as inevitable as the dawn breaking over a troubled horizon. In that silent, soul-searching moment, Tracy steeled herself. The road ahead was fraught with peril, uncertainty, and heartbreak, but one truth remained clear: the safety of the innocent and the restoration of trust in a city plagued by fear must come first. Whether it meant confronting the man she once loved or stepping into a role she never imagined, a reluctant guardian of justice, Tracy resolved that she could no longer stand on the sidelines. As the echoes of her past intertwined with the urgent demands of the present, Tracy took a deep breath, her eyes hardening with determination. The truth had been revealed, and though it came wrapped in pain, she understood that silence was a luxury they could no longer afford. The fate of Phyllis, Sharon, and countless others hung in the balance, and it was now up to her to forge a path through the darkness, no matter how much it threatened to consume her own heart. In this chapter, the revelation of the abandoned hospital and the chilling phone alert exposed not only the betrayal of Alan but also the growing menace that grips Genoa. Tracy's internal struggle between love and duty underscores the heart-wrenching choices that define our characters, a testament to how deeply personal dilemmas can mirror the broader chaos of a city on the brink.